And I have a treat for you tonight. I have Mr. Therrell with us with 42 years, and he's going to come up and share his experience, strength, and hope with us. And we're ready to go. You ready to go, Therrell? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Therrell, and I am an alcoholic. I'd like to welcome you, if you be new to the program, and tell you that the program does work. I got sober July 24th, 1983. And it was a journey. It wasn't no It was a real journey. Well, we share in a general way what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. As far as I can remember, I was withdrawn, scared of people, and I was so scared of people, it made me want to do something to them when they got too close. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and hoo-hoo to you too. And wow. I first was introduced to a 12-step program. NA was the first fellowship I went through. And before that, let me not go I'm going too fast. But before that, like I said, I was withdrawn and scared of everything. I really did not like nobody telling me shit. And so it behooved me to leave home and join the Army. I went there thinking that nobody was gonna be telling me shit, right? And and let me tell you, from the time I got there to the time I left, we got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And it really seemed, you know, the drill sergeant seemed like he didn't brush his teeth on purpose. So he can blow it in your face, right? And right then, it's too late then, but right then and there, I knew I had fucked up. I said, no, what the hell did you join this for, right? But I pretty much enjoyed it. I enjoyed some of it. You know, I was very athletic. They found out I had a heart murmur, and I had to leave. They let me stay for 18 months because they knew I was gonna sue their ass, right? Oh yeah, I was in the service, and I passed the physical with a heart murmur. So they let me stay there for 18 months. So when I did leave and I got anything wrong with me that was related to my heart, I was gonna get paid for it like I am today. I had so many issues, so many problems. I was scared of women. From junior high all the way up, I was scared to death of them, right? You know, when you're going through that thing as a young guy and a girl touch you, you know, if any guy know what I'm talking about, you know, scared the shit out of me, you know, parts of my body was waking up without my permission. And wow, you know, I was introduced, I went to Job Corps and I was introduced When I got back home, I wanted everybody to know that I'm grown now. I'm like 16 years old, and I could drink. So they gave me some old turkey, right? And that was the first time. And the second time, they gave me some old granddad. And I didn't mess around after that for another 5, 6 years, because that was enough right then. And I started drinking. I started drinking and smoking weed at the age of 19. That's right before I went to the service. And first we drank 3.2, y'all know about this, Budweiser. I said, what the hell is this supposed to do? You know. Then I went to the store and got some, I got some Wild Irish Rose. Yeah, I didn't, woo. And they didn't drink in South Carolina. I was based in South Carolina. They didn't drink little short dogs, and they didn't drink that little shit. They drunk by the gallon, you know. And it seemed like every other day somebody was lifting me up to take me to my room because I couldn't do it on my own. I know this is an AA thing, but what got me messed up was elephant juice. You know what that? Yeah, PCP. Yeah, Wawa. And so, and I couldn't come up with, well, I couldn't identify with being an alcoholic. You know, I did not want to be an alcoholic. My interpretation of alcoholic is the guy that goes to the liquor store, tap dance in the liquor store, and fall out. I do that shit. But let me tell you this. Everywhere I went, I was tap dancing. Everywhere I went, I was tap dancing. And I had this thing in between my ears that just wouldn't shut up, man. And it took me to places. But by then, I think I had figured out, a little bit about what the women thing was about, I figured out, well, you take them to dinner, learn how to lie, and you might get some, right? I don't know. I remember my first recovery program, I was 21. No, I was 22. And I had a half a stick of PCP in my pocket. And they looked at me, and a couple of them started crying, and they gave me a damn bed. I stayed sober for 18 months. And I had a girlfriend. In them days, you weren't supposed to have girlfriends that's in the program with you, right? And I found me one of the ugliest girls I've ever seen, but it was as close as I can get to it, right? And we left the program and moved in together. I think it lasted for about 3 weeks. And I'm telling the story because it leads up to something. All my life, I've never, ever found anything. You know how you loaded and you're looking down on the ground? And most likely you get a cigarette you can smoke off the ground. You're looking down on the ground, and I seen a $10 bag of Colombian Red on the ground. And this is what my mind told me. He said, you know what? You getting ready to get loaded. And I said, you're right. So I went over to my cousin's house, and the door on the side is always open, never locked. And I went in there and did the alcoholic shuffle. The alcoholic shuffle is when you go in there and you're trying to find as much change as you can so you can buy some zigzags, two things of Old English 800. Yeah, I did that one too. That one was cold. And after that, I went to the project so I can get what I really wanted. I lost 3 days off of that shit. I had my mom, and I'm going around because I don't want to miss anything, but my mom looked at me one day. I left home. I had some slacks on, some leather shoes. I had a Godfather hat on. I had a nice jacket and shit. When I got back home, I had somebody else's drawers on. I had somebody else's fucking, had holes all in my pants. I had the tennis shoes. I didn't wear no, I had holes in the bottom of my tennis shoes. And my mother looked at me and just bust out crying. And I'm gonna tell you what I said to her. I said, "Man, ain't shit wrong with me." The next thing I know, I'm at the Wagon Alcohol Treatment Center. I don't even know how I got there, right? I am classified, let's get this out in the open, as a real alcoholic. There's nothing in this world that I wouldn't do to get what I need. Y'all are pretty brilliant. You can figure some of this shit out. I did whatever I had to do. So I got in this program, right? And the things that comes to my mind is the insanity of alcoholism. And me and this guy went on a store run. And we stopped by old Junior's house, the one, the crack dealer. We were supposed to go to the store, And then when we got back, we did our thing. And it was the day that they have meetings, like Wednesday, like today. And for some reason, they asked him to be the lead the meeting. And guess who he asked to share? I shared in a general way my recovery. I was high as two kites. And I went on to say what we do when, you're wrong. I said, this shit don't work. No, I didn't say it like that. I said, this motherfucking shit don't work. That's what I said. And while I was on that podium, see, these podiums are sacred. They represent the truth. And I was bullshitting on that podium, and I felt like 3 pieces of shit. And while I'm sitting there, my mind is saying, motherfucker, you're gonna die like this. So in the dying, I went upstairs, sat on my bed, and I read Science of Mind books, the Bible. Who didn't give a shit? I was hurting, and I thought this was it. So I was seeking some recovery, man. I was seeking something that I did not have. So later on, that week, I met this guy with Sharon, and his name was Abraham Lincoln Smith. I'm not bullshit you not. His name was Abraham Lincoln Smith. And he was telling this story about a porcupine and a skunk. The skunk is the girl, and the porcupine was the guy. So the skunk asked the porcupine, "Have you had enough?" He said, "I don't know if I had enough, but I've had all I could stand." You know, everybody in that thing thought that was funny, except for me. I didn't take it like that. I was sitting in that meeting and I said, if something drastic didn't happen, I was gonna die like this. The second time I said that to myself. So I asked Abraham Lincoln Smith to be my sponsor. He did a pretty good job, but I didn't know that when we look at people and we kind of praise them because of their time, we don't look at them as normal people. So he was hitting on my girlfriend. That really, it took me 4 years to work the steps behind that shit. And what happened, my ego told me to tell him, I said, well, you know, it ain't mine. If you can get it, it ain't mine. But I know I got your money. You know. Oh, wow. It was really crazy what kind of person and what kind of thinking that I have. Like I said, I smoked some stuff July 23rd, and I got sober July 24th, 1983. And I was going to NA, like I said, and my sponsor was an NA person, right? He said, I need to take you somewhere else. It's too sick for you. He wasn't meaning these people were sicker than me. He was meaning that I was too sick to be in that environment. So he took me to 9604. Figueroa. I don't know if anybody been to that part of California before, but Figueroa is the land of the hoes. The first thing, when you walk in, you ride, and I said, where's all these people? And you going in there and there's people all over the place and they selling shit. And I was so kind of scared, man. But I mean, I already said I want to stay sober. I've been sober for about 4 or 5 months. What's going on? What is this? And then a guy got on the podium crying, just crying. And he was crying because he was grateful to be sober. I thought he was kind of gay myself, but you know, man, you don't get to, you know, where I'm from, you know, men don't do that. They might do it in the bathroom or some shit like that, but they ain't gonna do it in front of you, right? And this guy said that I'm grateful that God chose me. That's what he said. It took a minute for me, because I was in 30, 90, 60. I wasn't a 5-year, 10-year wonder. I did what the hell I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, and the only thing that didn't happen is I didn't drink. But I was a buzzard and a hoe. And all them things that we use to fix ourselves. And I'm gonna tell you this, not a person can fix me. I can't fix me. But as long as it took a minute for me to see that God can, God could and would. And that took a while, you know. And I remember I had a friend of mine, and today he's married, and I showed him some things. He said, man, they told me if I wanted to know about relationships, talk to you. So he took me home, and he's saying, yeah, well, where you stay at? I said, you see that lady peeking out the, you see that lady peeking out the window? She was tweaking, trust me. He said, that's your woman? I said, yeah, that's my woman. Yeah, it took a minute for me to learn whatever I needed to learn. But the thing was, is I didn't drink and I didn't get high. And whenever I wanted to venture out, I did. I might come back 2-3 months from then, but I didn't use it, I didn't drink. I had to learn through my own experience. This is what I'm trying to tell you. The biggest ass whooping that I've ever taken was the one I gave myself. And I learned the hard way that ass whoopings are free. You can get one anytime you want one. And I learned through my own experience. I got the biggest miracle. Somebody was telling me, you've been sober that long. That's not. The biggest miracle for me is I've been sober that long. That's the biggest one. And the reason why I'm saying that is that when you have these people talking in between your ears and you doing shit, and you looking at, damn, man, I weathered the storm. The storm wasn't you. It was never y'all. It was never my mom. I felt if I had a good mom that was never getting her ass whooped by these guys, if my brother stayed out of jail, if these girls stopped fucking with me, I'd probably be all right. But that's not what the problem was. The problem is when you go in the bathroom and look in the mirror. That's the problem. And you're trying to figure this shit out. It ain't nothing to figure out. Your ass don't know. Get somebody in a headlock that's been here for a minute to help you. That's what I found out. I didn't have the ingredients for my recovery. Like I said, I'm from LA, and I've been sober longer than most people that was going to that hall. And it was time for me to move on. I moved on because I met someone, and while we got out here, we got married. And they were saying, man, the place ain't like it was when you was here. I said, get off your ass and step up. Step your ass up. I did mine. And when I got to the Triangle Club, wasn't no motherfucking difference. People were just as insane as they was in LA. They were. And the difference was there was people there my age in recovery. I got a chance to sit. I ain't had to say shit. Got a chance to just sit and listen to some other old timers. What I really needed and what I did really need is my sponsor had dementia. And here I am, 42 years sober, and it's hard as fuck to find someone that's been sober longer than that, right? So I walked into Triangle Club and Al and sitting there. And as time went on, maybe a week later, I had some serious things that was going in my mind that could destroy my marriage. So I put him to the side and he helped me. And he told me, he said, look, you're just gonna have to be able to let her know that you have 5 or 6 different illnesses. Excuse me for saying it like this, but fucking just wasn't always in the, you know, in the making. I was sick, man. And every time I tried to do something, I got fucking tired. You know, and that's another thing that I like about Alcoholics Anonymous. You can be honest. I ain't got to be afraid of what nobody else thinks, because I already thunk it myself and I recovered from that. What I really, really needed was to be somewhere where I can rediscover who Therrell is. And it wasn't about that I left because they was getting on my nerves. They were. But that's not the reason why I left. I wanted a new environment, man, and Keith and, man, them old farts at the Triangle meeting, man. And I was sitting, I had shared something, man, and Keith said that what's the word that he was, I forgot actually, but he was into what I was talking about. He was into my recovery. And somebody with 44, 45, 46 years tell you that's just the biggest feeling in the world. You know, I didn't need to be looked up to, even though it happened here too, but I don't need to be looked up to. I need friends, but I need the kind of friend that will tell you the truth. That's the kind I need. And I got them right here in Vegas. And you know how they had the Vegas Roundup. And I was in there, and I was like, you got the people over here that was drinking, the other ones were scratching their head because they fucked off all their money. And then, but I looked around, it was just such a peace. It wasn't that in the casino there wasn't a peace there. It was something inside of me that seen something different. Being sober is the best thing that's ever happened to me. But it ain't. It's not how long you've been sober. It's what you do with it. Whether you can help. See, my thing is helping another alcoholic to achieve sobriety. One alcoholic helping another. And my favorite picture is the third alcoholic. If anybody ever seen that picture where a man is sitting on the bed and bobbing bills, and that's when it started. Prior to that, people was dying of alcoholism. They was taking them to the taking them to the asylums and strapping their asses down, and they would die right there. So Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life and many, many other people's life. All I have to do is remember which I came from. Reach out my hand to another person and help them the best way I know how. Basically, I've had some pretty interesting people that I sponsored, right? And the first time, it was like, are you kidding me? You asking me? I mean, I didn't know. I said, you asking me to be your sponsor? What's wrong with you? Something wrong with you, man. You want me to be? And the first thing I did, I took that book and we read it, both of them, the 12 and 12 and the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I like the big book, but ain't nothing like the honesty that's in the 12 and 12. It tells you who you are, why you are, and hopefully, if you're really paying attention, how you can achieve sobriety. It ain't really, it's a lot of people like to say it's simple. We're just complicated people, right? Wasn't a goddamn thing simple about Therrell trying to get sober. And the only thing that helped me is that I was 27 when I got sober. I got introduced when I was 22, and I got sober at 27. And I'm here to tell you, alcohol beat my ass. That's the reason why I got sober. It wasn't no, didn't no little man in a wheelchair say, hey, it's a hey meeting down the street over here. No. That bus bench I was sitting on, yeah, those feelings of hopelessness. I never thought I would even tell somebody I picked a fucking cigarette up and lit it up off the ground. Desperation. Another form of addiction. I had every fucking thing. I remember that I was, I had bought 3 bags of peppermints. Putting 3 and 4 peppermints in my mouth at a time. I hope y'all can identify this disease. My mouth swelled up this big. And when I felt it, it was like, damn, I can't do shit. That's when I found out I had a disease, an incurable disease that affects me, period. Everything. I can't do shit non-addictively. Now today, I might, do a little something, and I stopped doing it. When I start feeling that feeling, It's amazing. It's amazing that a 27-year-old Sharonhead, alcoholic, pill head, yeah, I was a garbage person, I did everything, was able to allow someone else to help me. My God thing wasn't straight, y'all. So that's the reason why I didn't say God. I don't do stuff like that. God didn't have a damn thing to do with it at that point. Those people in that meeting, man, they had a little bit of experience with a spiritual thing. I almost lost my mind trying to get it in the church, right? I couldn't do it. So I went to my sponsor and I said, man, I don't know what's going on. He said, do you read the big book? Do you read the 12 and 12? Well, that's who your spiritual experience and your spiritual thing is. That's what's going to get you through, right? So I didn't have to go to church and listen to the guy ask you for $40. I didn't have to go through what goes in our mind when we know something is some bullshit. So it ain't no bullshit when a person tell you that they was walking down the street and they had nowhere to go. Or I went somewhere and I felt like I went somewhere with 100 people and I felt like I was the only motherfucker there. You can't cut that loneliness with a knife. And that's what it happened for me, man. I was able to, I got tired of my damn self. You know, that motherfucker was just, I got sick of him. He was just sending me, I went to jail 5 times. So, and the people pissed me off because they told me, you know, when I got sober, I ain't been to jail since I got sober. Well, thank you. Because when I got sober, I did everything you could do in the sun. I sold weed, crack, it doesn't matter. I did what I had to do. My first sponsor told me, you know you're gonna have to do some hustling. You know, you done lost all your privileges. General relief ain't fucking with you no more. You lost your job. So you might have to, you might have to hustle a little bit. You might have to do some things that I didn't do when I was drinking or using. But I did it when I got sober, and survival was the reason. It wasn't really the reason. The reason was a lazy motherfucker. That's what it was. And being being me, let's say it like that, that I learned every single thing through my own experience. It don't matter. It don't matter how old you are. When I came to the program, I weighed 127 pounds. I weighed 127 pounds, soaking fucking wet. And I still really didn't get the message, but the one I did get was I didn't drink anymore. Oh, being me was a very hard ride. And being around people being me was even worse. Yeah, and I went to jail because I beat the shit out of somebody. And I had nerve enough to ask myself, where did that come from? Right? I was always scared. Of course, I'm scared of you, but you ain't gonna fuck me up. I'm gonna fuck you up. And that's the way my life was. It's really good that at that time, I had the place to go that I went to. Because everybody in that hall was totally insane. Sober. Oh, can you stay sober and do the same shit you used to do? Of course you can. You can do that. But now, there's a price, right? And you hope that you see what you need to see before the shit happens. By God's grace, I was able to see what I needed to see that was inside of me that was making me just run everybody in my life away. And I remember when my mom passed and they made the call. And this is some of the first feelings I can identify with. And I went to the hospital and her eyes was bucked out and they was purple and her heart was beating out of her chest. And I'm thinking she was already dead, right? But she woke up, she didn't wake up. She opened her eyes and I said, how are you doing? And she said, I'm all right. That was it. She didn't die then, but when I got home later on that night, she passed away. Learning how to live with unsolved problems and life on life terms was the journey I was talking about. I could have did a whole lot of things, but I really didn't know how. So the only thing I could do is sit on my hands and sit in the fucking meat and pray that what that dude said up there would happen to me. And it did. Um, this is funny. They was acting up, man, and they was saying, man, look what they did to us, and they putting us in jail. I said, you know, you had to do some shit to go to jail, right? You know, and I said, I went to the Army where it was pretty much everybody was in everybody's corner. It wasn't that much racism. And I told them, I didn't particularly, when I found out the truth about how we treat each other, I said, man, I personally dislike black people. I love black people, but I told them that. You know, I said, and this is the key to the whole thing. Everything that was taken from me, everything that was said to me, every bad act that was put upon me was done by a black person. And I had nerve enough to dislike anybody else. And I remember that day we was doing the prayer, right? And it was a white guy holding this hand, and it was a black guy holding that hand. And I felt so fucking nervous behind. I was lied to. I was lied to. And I was blaming shit on people that didn't have nothing to do with my race and have a damn thing to do with my condition. I was in jail and the guy struck out on some potato chips. Got him in a program in jail, right? Wow. Whew. And I told myself, if it's like that, how come all these people that you're talking about is looking up to you? Because I learned how to give back. I learned how to be a part of. When people was donating, I was donating $200, $300 out of pure gratitude. And being being sober and doing things like that, one day you're gonna, if you haven't happened to you yet, one day you're gonna be sitting somewhere and just gonna be you. And you're gonna feel and hear that thing that the gratitude that we get from not buying the lie anymore, buying the truth. What is it? The truth shall what? Set you free. Truly set me free. Went from a buzzard, someone that just couldn't wait to beat somebody's ass, to a citizen. And I was saying what I said because I don't look at it like that no more, but I grew. And I'm gonna tell you something. And not trying to rub it in anybody else's face. Today I'm grateful that I'm a black man, male. I have a daughter and 3 grandkids. I wouldn't experience that shit if I hadn't got sober. Wow. Well, I gotta, oh, I have to always say this. I hated my brother. Because I didn't understand, right? How could he do the shit he was doing and get the graces from my mom, right? And since I was the baby, you know, I could do no wrong. So I hated him because he wasn't there when I needed him. He was in prison. One day I was at home and I got a telephone call. My niece told me my brother had passed. And all that hatred, I laid on my stomach and I cried like a little bitch. Excuse me for saying it like that. But I cried and I cried and I cried. And I had a couple of moments of silence. And in that moment, I was able to say my brother did the best he could with what he had. And he did something I would have never did. He took the money that he got from them little girls running up and down the street and took it home. Took it home to his wife. Now, you know, it's nowhere in the world I can understand some shit like that. But that day he died, or I was told he died, I was able to see the truth. And I no longer could say that I disliked, hated my brother. At that moment, I knew that he did the best he could. And I told myself, if he could have been there for me, I'm thinking he would have. It's kind of hard when your ass is in Folsom, right? To make it, to see me. That's how selfish that shit is. Okay, rounding it down. I didn't say none of the shit I wanted to say. But I did tell you about who I am and the honesty that I gained. And I truly don't give a shit what other people think, because they ain't in this body and they didn't get the gift that I was given. It's truly a gift. If you have 30 days, 60 days, and I know some people want to say, well, if you got up earlier, that's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, I went through what, 42 years, day 365? You know what I'm saying? I was so grateful that God allowed me to experience that. And I would never, I'm not downplaying. I know 30 days is just as special as 42 years. I'm just letting you know how grateful I am. Okay, thank God. Thank you for allowing me to share.